Look into my eyes. When you see me on a show, when you see these fans, you know you've got the best in the damn world.
This is the Wrestling Matters podcast where we stand up for professional wrestling.
Here we fucking go!
Well, enough is enough, and it's time for a change!
Professional wrestling! This is it! This is us standing up! Yes! 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 Yes!
That's 13-14!
Dina, I am the best in the world.
Cause that's the bottom line. Cause Stone Cold said so.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Merry Christmas. It is me, that HEAD, back with you for another installment of the Wrestling Matters podcast. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, wait a minute, it's Christmas. Why are you still working? Hey, I don't stop. Okay, I have been going non-stop since 2014, and if you think I'm stopping, you don't know me that well then. Okay, I made a vow to do this every single Monday, each and every Monday, bring you the best in the professional wrestling business and my thoughts and opinions and guests and whatnot. So yeah, I'm here. This is Boxing Day, December 26th. I almost said November 26th there. And this is the edition that we're going to give you today. Now, I had planned to do a Roadblock review last week, but you know what? I didn't have time. I was too busy doing other things. So, I'm going to do it in this podcast today. You're going to get a Roadblock review on this podcast today. You're also going to get Raw and Smackdown. You're going to get, if it's up, NXT. I know NXT's up. You got TNA, if that's up. And I know about Ring of Honor. I have seen Ring of Honor this week as well. So, you're going to get them today, all good today. And also you're going to get ICW, that's right, Friday Night Fight Club, December 23rd, I believe, edition, which is part 2, I believe, of the December 11th show that they did in the garage. Yeah, it's part 2, I believe, the final part of that anyway, so no doubt that full show will be up on the on-demand service very soon. Also, you're going to get a little thing that I brought up that I found from What Culture, ladies and gentlemen. That's right, 7 wrestlers that Shawn Michaels refused to lose to. I believe it's 7. That's going to be interesting, and you know what? That is your main event for this podcast. That will be on last for your main event on this podcast. So that is what is to come on this podcast. Hope you guys are well. Hope you guys are enjoying what is said. I hope you guys enjoyed the week that is professional wrestling. And also hope you guys enjoy your Christmas and your New Year as well. More on that later though. The following episode of the Wrestling Matters podcast can be seen on the Wrestle Talk television. Not Wrestle Talk television. Wow! Can be seen on Swerve Talk Network. Yeah, I only said Wrestle Talk Television because I was watching something before I started recording this. Wrestle Talk TV thing, we'll get to that in a second, but this episode of the podcast can be listened to on the Swerve Talk Network. Merry Christmas to Max Wrestling, Offshoot Radio, Sunday Segway, Kinny, Co, and everybody else there. Check them out each and every week, guys. I don't know if they'll be doing any podcasts this week. I don't know if there's any podcasts going this week as I'm recording this because, well, being Christmas and that. So you might not get anything. This might be the only podcast out there. You never know. I might be wrong. I don't know. But it is Christmas. I'm recording this on the 24th. This bit on the 24th of December. So you never know. You might get them. But this might be the only podcast. But like I say, I don't stop. They might. I don't. So be sure to check them out each and every week. Show them some love. You will not be disappointed. Shout out to Mystery Island as well, facebook.com/Back to the Island. Check them out each and every time you can get on Facebook and that. Also, be sure to check out Wrestle Island as well, which is their little wrestling promotion. Also, I believe their next show is in March, I believe. So be sure to look on the info for that. I would imagine the info will be all on facebook.com/Back to the Island or at Wrestle Island on Twitter as well. So be sure to check that out and follow them on Twitter too. Now, shout out to all my partners as well, OSW TV, The Raging Falcon, the list goes on and on. I want to address something last week. I sent a message to Jen Rodriguez, who you all know is from Wrestle Talk. Not Wrestle Talk. Again, with the Wrestle Talk Brunch. Talk Brunch radio show. If you haven't listened to them, check them out each and every Monday or when they can. At Talk Brunch on Twitter as well. Be sure to check them out and follow them on there. I sent them a message last week because Jen's going through some personal issues. She lost her family member. Probably the worst way to end 2016 ever. But I said to her, stay strong and all that. I sent her a message. Apparently it didn't come over well on the YouTube channel, on the audio. So I want to apologize for that. I don't know what the hell went down, whether it was YouTube or whether it was Audacity, the site, that the program that I use to edit the show as well. Whether it was that or not, I don't know. But credit to Mr. Dara, he managed to get a good portion of it as well. So hopefully, and I'm pretty sure from what Mr. Dara tells me, it got over well. Like I said, Jen, I stand by what I said. Stay strong, kid. We've all been through that kind of stuff. Alright, granted, it's never been a Christmas, but we've all been through people dying and that. Like I say, hopefully I don't have to go through anybody dying at Christmas either. But we all go through that. So stay strong, kid. You have friends. You have people that, give a shit about you. Mr. Dara being one of them as well, being on top of that list. And like I said to you last week, I like to throw my name in that hat too. And like I said, big shout out to Mr. Dara. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, sir. And hopefully we can work together in January. Start in January, or in 2017 at least. Like I said, I'm going to do some changes in there as well, but I'll keep you posted. Until then, you enjoy your Christmas and a Happy New Year as well. Same with you, Jen, as well. Also, as well, a lot of good stuff coming in the podcast in 2017. I've got some interviews lined up, some more guests, and some more good stuff, and the best in professional wrestling as well. So, also check out this podcast on soundcloud.com/wrestling_matters_podcast. Don't forget to download it for free as well if you're going somewhere, which I don't think you'll be going very much unless you're going into town. Take it with you and, listen to it on your earphones like I do when I'm working on Middlesbrough, my stewarding job and everything. I always listen to it, I always listen to my music, helps me relax before a big day, because usually that work can get hectic, no question about that. Also, check out AJW Wrestling Matters on YouTube as well, the Wrestling Matters channel, because that is where you can listen to this podcast as well. There's a few other things as well coming on that channel in the weeks to come. I want to address something. This is not wrestling related, but I want to address something. I am a gamer, okay? Besides this podcast, I am a gamer. And I do video games and shit like that as well. Check out my Games Matter channel as well. Anthony Walter Games Matter on YouTube. YouTube.com/Games Matter channel as well. I do that kind of stuff. And there's this new website that has popped out, ladies and gents, called VidMe. And it's a website. It's like a YouTube, and I'm verified on it, which is the first time in my lifetime I've ever been verified on something. Do your own jokes on that one. But it's a cool site. We do our stuff and everything like that, and we do what we do and everything. On occasions, I have done what I've done on that site. I promoted it on the Facebook, on the Twitter, and stuff like that. It seems that Facebook has a problem with VidMe, because every time I've shared, or most of the times I've shared on there, they have accused it, they have blocked it, the videos, not just on my chat that I'm in, on my account as well. The Anthony Walker, if you want to, add me or follow me or whatever you can do on there, or connect. What the fuck's with that connect? Add friend, now it's connect. What the fuck? Anyway, I'll get to that later. But they come up with, the message was removed because contains blocked or harmful links. What the fuck? That's like blocking YouTube. You share your videos on social media, or you go into a YouTube video, you like it, you want to share it with your mates, you want to share it with people. That's like blocking YouTube videos. Anyway, I've submitted twice now, and a friend of mine who I work with as well, he's gone into that situation as well. So it's not just me that's getting it, thankfully. But yeah, Facebook, you need to sort out your rules and regulations, because Facebook are a bunch of morons, and their rules and community guidelines are just as bad as YouTube, because they're fucking retarded as well. So yeah, it is what it is at the end of the day, guys. It is what it is. I've posted one as I'm recording this right now. I've posted something from VidMe, and it's it's still there. You know, it hasn't been touched. You know, Facebook hasn't, you know, blocked it or whatever. I'm not going to promote it in the chat. I'll just mention it in the chat. I'll write something out saying it's on VidMe as well. I'm not going to promote it in the chat until this thing's sorted out, and hopefully Facebook will sort this thing out, because if they don't, they're going to get a lot of heat for it. Not that they get heat anyway, but it is absolutely ridiculous, and it's not fair to us created contenters or content creators. There you go. What the fuck was that? Did I make up a word there? Content creators on that share videos and that. It's not fair to them. Whatever issue Facebook has with VidMe, I could give two flying fucks about, but it's idiotic, it's stupid, and it's not fair to us people that haven't done nothing, because we're getting blamed or we're getting pulled out for something that is quite frankly stupid. But anyway, that's another issue for another day. I want to address something. Like I said, Wrestle Talk TV. I saw this video before I started recording this, and there is backstage heat on WWE superstars from Raw and Smackdown. Now, one being Big E, because apparently he made a joke about, the way Charlotte and Sasha have been playing hot potato with the Women's Championship, the Raw Women's title, of course. He made some sort of a joke, and apparently it didn't go down that well, and people are not liking it, and he's got heat with. It seems also on SmackDown that Dickhead has got heat with people backstage for going off script, apparently, and Dickhead I'm referring to is The Miz, because on SmackDown, and I'll talk about this a little bit more later on, but I'll say it here, he brought up something that we already knew. Renee Young was in the ring, and she spoke to him, tried to do a job and everything, and she claimed that The Miz was obsessed with Dean Ambrose, and Miz turned it around saying, let's talk about your obsession with Dean Ambrose. I mean, after all, you're the one who's sleeping with him. Okay. I don't know if that was planned or not, but I don't think it went over that well, and it damn sure didn't go over that well, and Renne retaliated with a slap, which is, quite frankly, what Miz deserves, quite frankly, because despite the fact of the promo, what he did with Daniel Bryan and the arguments and everything like that, he's still a ball bag, quite frankly. And there's a video online, and I believe it's on the WWE YouTube channel, if I'm not mistaken. I saw it this past week, where he's knocking on the door, and Maurice opens it, and he's in a state of pictures. If people can't hear you at home and you're talking and you've got like this, they can't hear the audio of what you're saying or anything like that, you write it on some, square pictures or whatnot, and then you put it up for them to understand what the hell you're saying, like for deaf people. Well, he did it with Maurice, and two of his plans were familiar, where he was only going to be the Intercontinental Champion in 2017, he was going to be the WWE Champion in 2017, and his plans were also to be Dolph Ziggler. I believe 3 people that were on the list were AJ Styles, Bray Wyatt, and John Cena. I don't know who the other one was, but I think 3 of them were AJ Styles, Bray Wyatt, and John Cena. So would Miz work at being WWE Champion again? I don't know. Can you take him seriously? Because the first time around, he was great. I'll give him his due. I'll give the devil his due. He was great the first time around. Considering the direction he has gone and where he's, the direction he's took and everything, can people take him seriously as the WWE Champion now? Also, will WWE allow him to unify the Intercontinental Championship and WWE title too? Me personally, to be honest, I doubt that. He'll probably drop the Intercontinental Championship, preferably to Dean Ambrose at Royal Rumble in 2017. That's just my prediction, whether that will take place or not. It's not 100% true, but that's just the way I'm seeing things. But will they allow him to be WWE Champion? Or will people take him seriously as WWE Champion on SmackDown? Allow him to carry the ball for SmackDown? Because a lot of people predicting Bray Wyatt will be WWE Champion, which I will not have a problem with whatsoever. But can Miz be taken seriously as WWE Champion like the first time around? I doubt that, but you never say never in the WWE. Anyway, that's just my opinion, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to wrap this part up here, and I'll be back in part 2 with a Roadblock review. Also, and I'll be back in part 3 as well with Raw and Smackdown review as well. So, and probably a lot more to talk about in terms of what happened with Renee Young and The Miz. So, yeah. I'll see you in a bit. Stay tuned. We've got a lot to get through on this podcast. The Christmas special, even though it's Boxing Day. See you in a bit. If you like the Wrestling Matters podcast, why not check out their Facebook page at facebook.com/WM podcast and like the page and show your support to the podcast that stands up for professional wrestling, the Wrestling Matters podcast. Wrestling Matters, wrestling fans. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Wrestling Matters podcast. This is part 2 of episode 143, and Roadblock time. Now, I wanted to do this during the week, but I didn't have time. I was too busy with other stuff, so yeah. We'll get through to it right now. It kicked off in the kickoff show with Rusev and Big Cass. Count out win. This is why it was on the kickoff show. I get it. And then you have the rematch on Raw the next night, which I'll talk about later on. But it was a could care less match, quite frankly. Rusev and Big Cass, I don't know where this feud's going. I don't know where it can go. Hopefully it'll get to the point where Big Cass goes over. I was expecting Big Cass to win, quite frankly, and get revenge for Enzo, but yeah, I don't know where this feud's going. I don't know what can come out of this feud, quite frankly, but hopefully it'll be positive towards Big Cass, because he needs it more than Rusev. It might. And then it kicked off on the pay-per-view with Cesaro and Sheamus challenging the New Day for the Raw World Tag Team Championships. And this was a great match, great way to kick off the show. And they did it. Cesaro and Sheamus did it. They are the new Raw World Tag Team Champions. They did it. Should have been Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, but anyway. Foley's little plan, after these two literally beating the crap out of each other in the Best of 7 series, he put them together and it worked. I mean, if there's anybody who knows about odd couples when it comes to tag team, it's Foley. But yeah, it worked. And you know what? Fair play to them. They can work together. They are good together in terms of tag team and what they could do. But these two can't get along. These two despise one another deep down. But they are the Raw World Tag Team Champions. And credit to WWE, because they've actually got rid of them bronze belts. And now they brought Raw Tag Team titles, just like Smackdown. They brought Raw Tag Team Championships into the fold, which is fucking phenomenal, because I have been an avid supporter, or dislike, if you will, of them bronze tag team titles. I despise them. They weren't even tag team titles. It was like getting a bronze medal at the Olympics wearing them belts. I mean, tag team titles should be World Tag Team Championships, gold belts, not bronze belts. I mean, blooming heck. But thankfully, they got rid of them, and the New Day weren't particularly pleased about them getting the new belts on Raw, which I'll talk about later on. Sami Zayn managed to survive 10 minutes against Braun Strowman, which really pissed off Braun Strowman the next night on Raw. There was a little bit of Mick Foley coming out to try and save him and save the day, so to speak, and help Sami Zayn. What's his problem with that, man? I don't know where that's going, if it's a storyline, but quite frankly, I don't care. And this is why SmackDown is working well for me, in my opinion, because Foley is a GM on Raw with Stephanie looking over him. It doesn't work. I think Shane McMahon got the best deal out of that in terms of general managers, in my opinion. A great match between Chris Jericho and Seth Rollins ended with Chris Jericho losing, which was predictable. But it was a great match nonetheless, just like they had on Raw. And these two could have good matches anywhere they can, quite frankly, because they are good. Both of them, in fact. The Cruiserweight Championship was retained by Rich Swann by beating Brian Kendrick and TJ Perkins. And a little interesting development after that match, quite frankly, because the story wasn't Rich Swann retaining, it was the fact that Neville returned. But all came down, all high mighty, all yay, and all that, you know, with a grin on his face. Apparently him and Rich Swann go way back. But Neville turned on Rich Swann and turned on TJ Perkins too. A heel Neville. It's interesting. A fellow Northeast guy as well, because he's from Newcastle. But it's interesting to see where he can go with this as, you know, as a heel. Could he be the dominant force in the Cruiserweight division? You know, a dominant heel as a champion, and people pay money to see him get his ass kicked. It's interesting. I like it. We'll have to wait and see how that pans out, but a heel Neville, it works. Works for me. Charlotte and Sasha Banks in the 30-minute Iron Woman match, and I refuse to call it an Iron Man match because, again, there was 2 women involved, and the only male involved in that match was the referee. So there's nothing Iron Man about it. It was Iron Woman. They need to change that, seriously. And once again, Charlotte Flair with her with WWE, especially, particularly Vince McMahon's obsession with results and fucking, streaks and shit. Vince McMahon streak obsession has made Charlotte Flair once again new women's champion on Raw. And you wonder why Big E made a joke about this? Hot potato again. And I don't know where this is going to go now. Hopefully this ends, quite frankly, because from what I got on Raw, it looks like they're building now with Bayley and Flair. But where is this going to lead for Sasha Banks? Because there's all this talk about Sasha becoming a heel. I saw one of their mimes or mimics on Facebook, I don't know if it was on Facebook or Instagram, with the pictures saying, I don't feel like the boss anymore, and then CM Punk underneath, with a picture of CM Punk underneath on the line saying, well, turn heel again. Does she have to turn heel to be that boss that we know when she was back in NXT? To be honest, I don't think she really needs to turn heel, because babyface or heel, she's the boss anyway. But in a way, I don't know what the hell WWE are playing at with Sasha at the moment, but something needs to change in terms of that, and something positive needs to change for her, and quick, in my opinion. I mean, other than that, it was an epic match, as we knew it would be, between the two. Sasha has been in, the last time Sasha was in a 30-minute Iron Woman match was with Bayley, and that was a show stealer. I thought this was actually going to be the main event, because the way they were building it up, it was going to be the main event, but obviously, rightly so, the Universal Championship was the main event, and quite frankly, that would have been better off in the position, second from last, to be honest with you, considering the way it ended. But, Charlotte Flair is the Raw Women's Champion, like it or not. And next in line is Bayley, but I'll get to that later on. Speaking of the Universal title, Kevin Owens one-on-one with Roman Reigns, and Kevin Owens retained by disqualification because Chris Jericho came down, hit the code breaker on Kevin Owens, not to the realization that he actually disqualified Roman Reigns in the process, which allowed Kevin Owens to retain. So it seems the best friends are still in cahoots, so to speak, but that didn't sit well with Roman Reigns nor Seth Rollins, because them two came out and put a shield on them. On both of them. They went shield on both of them. As you could probably tell with the thumbnail that I'm using on the video. The little fists pumped together. Reigns and Rollins with the fists together like the shield. And Reigns holding the US title up in the air. Yeah. Double powerbomb. They hit Chris Jericho through, which I believe was the Spanish announce table. Poor bastards. And they got Kevin Owens up to the stage. And they hit Kevin Owens through the Raw announce table. And he bounced off the platform that the Raw announce table was on and hit to the floor. Unbelievable, isn't it? But at the end of the day, I might use that as a thumbnail, to be honest with you, that Raw thing. So it could be the thumbnail, could be on the video, but you'll see a picture. If it's not there, go to WWE.com for all photos of what happened at Roadblock. All in all, guys, Roadblock wasn't the best pay-per-view I've seen. Was it good? Yeah, it was good. It was good. I can't complain. It wasn't like shit. I can't just come up here and say, oh, I'm angry, it was rubbish, and this, and this. It actually wasn't. But it could have been better, quite frankly. And the rematch has been confirmed, which I'll talk about in Raw. On the Raw portion, which is Kevin Owens defending against Roman Reigns for the Universal title, with a little stipulation in it involving Chris Jericho, but I'll get to that in the next part of this podcast. And that about wraps up for part 2, and I'll be back in part 3 with Raw and Smackdown. So stay tuned.
There's only one wrestling podcast that gives you honest, uncut opinions and the most unique trivia since WWE did The Weakest Link. And the only place you can hear the show-stealing podcast promo every single week.
Covering WWE, TNA, Ring of Honor, Lucha Underground. Max Wrestling Podcast is the place for you. Join myself, Evan Money McCabe, the Phoenix, and the Butcher. Sundays at 7 p.m. UK time, 2 p.m. Eastern Time with your host, Daddy Dangerously, on VOC Nation and the Swerve Talk Network.
Go to maxwrestling.wix.com/maxwrestling or follow us at maxwrestlinguk for more details.
Give in to the madness.
Be sure to check out the Wrestling Matters channel at www.youtube.com/AJW Wrestling Matters for my exclusive review series that I'm doing on WCPW, What Culture Pro Wrestling, brought to you by the good folks at whatculture.com. Each and every week, I'll be reviewing their shows, whether it's loaded or their big upcoming shows as well, each and every week on their YouTube channel. Be sure to check out the Wrestling Matters channel for review shows each and every week. You can also download them for free on SoundCloud. Wrestling Matters, wrestling fans. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to part 3 of the Wrestling Matters podcast. Now let's get Raw and Smackdown out the way. That's right. Raw and Smackdown review, follow-up from Roadblock, the Roadblock pay-per-view. I guess you could call it a pay-per-view. Raw, for me, and this is just my opinion, Raw for me was a little disappointing. It had its moments. There was some moments of goodness, but it wasn't, full house kind of moments, if you ask me. Smackdown, however, pretty much won this battle, if you will, in terms of ratings. I find it ironic, though, that with a Monday Night Raw, with a roster like Kevin Owens, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, who's injured, and Brock Lesnar, who's away in the moment, I find it ironic that it can't do anything, it can't win to save its life, I really do. Now, I'm going to be talking about what happened in Raw. There's certain bits that have popped up in the news this week, or this past week, about Braun Strowman, which I'll get to later on. I'll save that for the end. And also Chris Jericho as well. But more on that. I'll talk about them later on in the podcast. Now, ladies and gents, we're going to talk Monday Night Raw, the quick hits. Now, the quick hits were: Raw General Manager Mick Foley confronted the Universal Champion Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho. Now, like I said in part 1, he made a rematch for the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns for the Universal title. Now, this was a little twist. Remember back in the old days when, people like managers used to get into cages and get lifted above the ring? Well, that's what Chris Jericho is going to be in. He's going to be in a shark tank above the ring during the match. So, while he is high above the ring, there's going to be a match underneath him taking place. It goes back to the old days. And Chris Jericho is the poor bastard that's going to be involved. Rusev defeated Big Cass via disqualification, bounced off from what happened at Roadblock. Like I said, I have no idea where this feud is going between these two. Later on, I don't know if it says on these, Enzo attended a sensitivity training course, only to be attacked by Jinder Mahal and Rusev again. So this feud's far from over, and it will more likely end up being Rusev, Jinder Mahal versus Enzo and Big Cass at some point. More than likely. Apparently, Sasha Banks' next feud, there seems to be something brewing between Sasha Banks and Nia Jax as well. So, yeah. Cedric Alexander defeats Noam Dar, a heel Noam Dar. Apparently Noam Dar's been using Alicia Fox, who apparently is now Cedric's girlfriend. Cedric's girlfriend, I was right. And, okay. Noam Dar, a heel villain Noam Dar. We'll see where it goes. I don't like it, but anyway. WWE Cruiserweight Champion confronted Neville. Rich Swann confronted Neville. Sin Cara and Titus O'Neil ends in a no contest because of one Braun Strowman, who was raising hell backstage because of what happened with Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn surviving 10 minutes, and the path of destruction continues. Bayley beats women's champion Charlotte Flair, and looks like I said, that the program has started between them two, leading into WrestleMania. And the main event is Seth Rollins and the US champion Roman Reigns defeating Jericho via disqualification. Again, all setting up towards the Royal Rumble. Now, I want to go back to the Tag Team Championships, because this was the best part of Raw for me. Cesaro and Sheamus backstage with the Tag Team Championships, and Mick Foley finally gives them championships, new tag team titles. So that means the Braun's bullshit is out. There's no more bronze titles. Yay! Out with the old, in with the new. So now there's, you've got the tag team titles on SmackDown. You've got the same on Raw, except it's with a red banner, not a blue banner, as there is on SmackDown. So, out with the old, in with the new. Although New Day didn't take particularly too kindly to it, them being, the champions for so long, they didn't get them new belts beforehand. But anyway, their little segment was interrupted by Cesaro and Sheamus, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, and the Shining Stars, which ended up in a fatal four-way tag team match, which had Cesaro and Sheamus win the match. So, it's interesting to see where the Raw tag team division is going, but we have to figure that out at some point. What will be the case for Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson? Will they end up going to SmackDown eventually? They should be on SmackDown, quite frankly. Just put him with the club, just put him with AJ Styles and be done with it. Anyway, SmackDown. The preview this week is a fatal four-way for the tag team titles. Usos, the Wyatts, Rhino and Heath Slater, which I think there's going to be a program between them two at the moment, and American Alpha. Excuse me. The rematch between Alexa Bliss and Becky Lynch, the gorgeous Becky Lynch. I don't know why I have a soft spot for her, don't I? And John Cena is returning too. Goody. And triple threat match for the WWE Championship, which is the wild card finals this Tuesday on SmackDown Live, which is Dolph Ziggler, AJ Styles, and Baron Corbin. But last week was a little controversial for what it was, basically, because the matches were AJ Styles destroying James Ellsworth. Not even a match, quite frankly. It was a mismatch. And Baron Corbin and Dolph Ziggler come out, which sets up their match for later on in the evening, which sets up the triple threat match next week. Which, there was a double count out, but it was resulting in both men squaring off against AJ Styles next week for the championship. Mojo Rawley defeats Kurt Hawkins. La Luchadora defeats Alexa Bliss, which was Becky Lynch. He's trying to get a piece of Alexa Bliss and not having Alexa duck her all the time. And Becky got a little small measure of revenge, and she looks so hot in that outfit. I don't know why. There was no revealings or anything like that, man. She just looks so hot in that outfit. Anyway, Dean Ambrose defeated Luke Harper, only to get beat down by the tag team champions, Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton as well. I should say the Wyatts are the tag team champions because they've endorsed that Freebird ruling. Natalya admitted to attacking Nikki Bella at Survivor Series, which we already knew. And the highlight of the night, Miz defeating Apollo Crews, and then the whole kerfuffle at the end of it with Renee Young. It's going to go. Many people say this is going to take place. Dean Ambrose and Miz is going to take place at the WrestleMania. No, do it for the what I call it, the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. Miz versus Dean Ambrose in a Continental Championship on the line. Where this feud is going, and will Renee get involved? Because there has been rumors. I have read some rumors that Renee is going to be wrestling or become a WWE superstar or diva or women's wrestler or whatever the fuck they call it. Will we see a mixed tag match down the road? Be interesting. But like I said, it's only if Renee can handle herself. And she seemed to handle herself there with that slap. She slapped the taste out of Miz's mouth, which was just beautiful. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of this part. I will be back in part 4 with NXT, Ring of Honor, and some news about TNA as well. So, stay tuned.
Be sure to listen to the Sunday Segway Wrestling Podcast.
What?
Every Sunday with Kinny Killer and the Galdem Sugar Shugs.
Yes! Yes!
With all the news, views, and laughter that you want.
They like jet airplanes. Woo! They like long limousines.
Every Sunday, the Sunday Segway Wrestling Podcast on Podomatic, iTunes, and YouTube.
So why don't you choke on that, slap nut?
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to part 4 of the Wrestling Matters podcast. And in this part, We're going to talk TNA, we're going to talk NXT and Ring of Honor, right? I'll get to Ring of Honor first. We're not going to talk TNA, but I've come up with some news about TNA as well. I found some news regarding TNA, so I'll get to that in a second. Ring of Honor this week. I watched it this past week. It was from the lineup for episode 274. I actually watched it. It was really, really good. It was the fallout from the Final Battle pay-per-view, if you can say that, which I'm pretty sure you can. It saw Kyle O'Reilly opening the show, but he was interrupted by Adam Cole, Dalton Castle, and then Bobby Fish, all making claim to have a crack at that Ring of Honor World Championship. And the Bobby Fish thing, because Bobby Fish lost the TV title, and now he's going to be claiming to be the number one contender for the world title. But the thing with Bobby Fish, what people don't understand is the whole thing with Bobby Fish is the case, this is Red Dragon. Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly. It's just a carbon copy at the end of the day of the American Dragons, the American Wolves went through before. Eddie Edwards was world champion. Who beat him for that title? Yeah, exactly. You know who I'm guessing. You know where I'm going with that if you're a Ring of Honor fan. That's exactly where this is probably going to go. So, at the end of the day, it is what it is, and like I say, Ring of Honor is a business. I know I'm sure there'll be people that see that. Dalton Castle can make a claim. He polished off the heel Cole Cabana and has a pinfall victory over Adam Cole, apparently. And Adam Cole just wants his belt back. So that's going to be interesting to see which one of them gets a title shot. Or maybe there'll be other ones in the pipeline. Jay Lethal, and the list goes on and on. So that'll be interesting to see. Leo Rush beats Caprice Coleman by pinfall. The Rebellion jump Rush after the match. And then Donovan Dijak and Jay White come down to make the save. So, yeah. And this tournament that has taken place, first match of the first round of the tournament, which saw Christopher Daniels defeat Mark Briscoe by pinfall as well. And Christopher Daniels. Look, at the end of the day, I bash his character, and you can say what you want about his character, but, he is what he is. He's the man. There's no question about that. He is the man. Because he is good at what he does, no question about that. Now, all that at the beginning of the show led to a main event, which saw Kyle O'Reilly, Red Dragon, saw Red Dragon, Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish team up with Dalton Castle against the Bullet Club, Young Bucks, and Adam Cole. And I saw this match, and probably my favourite part of the match was outside, because the Young Bucks, I believe it was Nick, he does that little flip to the outside. He does like a springboard facebuster move in the ring, because what he did, and then he jumps in and then flips to the apron and then does a moonsault. Well, as he did that on the outside, and the next minute, him and his partner super kick the boys. Just go back and see it, man. It's hard to explain. You have to see it for yourself. It's hilarious. But the Young Bucks, too sweet. And they've signed 2-year Ring of Honor deals, so you won't be seeing them in WWE anytime soon, which is quite frankly a good thing in a way, because, they went to TNA, got called Generation Me. I dread to think what WWE would do with them, to be honest. But yeah, I'd like to see them in WWE, but only if they allow them to use the Young Bucks. Because if they don't, like I say, I'll end up like TNA with Generation Me and what? Whatever. Now, Ring of Honor. NXT this week. I'll see if there is an NXT. I haven't been caught up. I've been mainly watching the two big promotions this week. I don't know if there is any. There we go. I don't know if there is any NXT this week. I don't know if there was any TNA this week, quite frankly. But the reason why I'm going to be talking about TNA is because I've come across something that needs to be addressed. But NXT this week saw the return of Tajiri. Yeah, and he will return this week. It's a 2-hour special this week from Japan, which should be interesting. That's this week, 28th of December, which should be very interesting. If I can find it, again, click the page when it's not even on. Friggin' hell. Same shit, different day and whatnot. Right, here we go. 21st of December. There we are. That's what we're looking for. I'm looking this on WWE.com, by the way. So, 21st of December, which saw Billie Kay defeat Dara Barrento. I hope I said that right. I know I didn't, but anyway, the Authors of Pain defeat two jobbers, I'm guessing, just bounced them around. And in a fatal 4-way match for the number 1 contendership to the Ring of Honor World Championship. Why did I say Ring of Honor World title? I meant NXT. Sorry, I still got Ring of Honor on my mind because I was talking about them earlier on. NXT I meant, I apologize. And it seems that Nakamura's next person in line to face him would be Bobby Roode. Well, but we all knew that if you read the dirt sheet as well, because he defeated Ty Dillinger, Andrea Almos, and Roderick Strong. as well. And Roderick Strong, ladies and gentlemen, also a future world champion, or NXT world champion as well. A big loss to NXT, to Ring of Honor as well. But anyway, just want to say this as well. I've come across this week, which I find quite amazing. We all know TNA lost their UK TV deal with Challenge. They lost their UK TV deal with Challenge, and basically, went to pot because Challenge, even though it claims that TNA is supposed to be huge in the UK, but it seems that Challenge didn't want nothing to do with them, which is quite rightly so, because even the Challenge people are going to look at that. But January 5th, TNA Impact, if I'm getting this right, is going to be streamed on the internet starting January 5th. ImpactWrestling.com. £5 monthly fee. I would imagine you can get access to all of them. Now, I don't know where this is going. Will they get a TV deal in the UK, like Beyond Challenge or whatever? I don't know. I don't know where it's going. But it seems everybody's going on demand lately, except for WWE. And that. It seems that Ring of Honor is going to the on-demand service kind of thing. But I'll look into that a little bit more often. A little bit more as well, do some more research on that, and hopefully bring you some more news on that next week. But would this work for TNA? If it works for anybody else, I would probably think it works for TNA as well. TNA needs something at the moment. The more times you think they're going to go away, they're going to go away, but they just keep on fighting back and fighting back. Solo Monster said it best, they're like a cockroach. This won't go away. But I don't want them to go away, but if they don't do something soon, I think they will be going away. So they got to do something. So hopefully this will work out for them. But like I said, I'll bring you more news on that next week. But with that being said, ladies and gents, that is the end of part 4 of this Wrestling Matters podcast as well. Hope you guys have enjoyed that. I will be back in part 5 with ICW, and then in the final part I will bring you the main event plus a few other things as well, so stay tuned. If you like the Wrestling Matters podcast, why not follow the Wrestling Matters podcast now on Twitter at WM Podcast for all professional wrestling news. Wrestling Matters, wrestling fans. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Wrestling Matters podcast, the 143rd episode of the Wrestling Matters podcast, and it's now time on a show where Casey Owens calls out Martina and Joe Hendry calls out Lionheart for costing him a loss, or costing him a match against Wee Man. I'll get to that later. It's ICW Fight Club, and ICW kicked off this week with Joe Coffey and Matt Cross. And for those of you that don't know, Matt Cross, if you watch Combat Zone Wrestling, you may have seen him a few times in there. I know him from Tough Enough. That's right, the Austin era of Tough Enough. The one where Stone Cold Steve Austin was in. The one where Matt, who was known as Danny Osmond, was in. That one. The one who didn't bottle. The one who bottled it, quite frankly. Poor sod. However, him and Coffey had a rubber match, They had a 1 fall apiece match as well. 1 fall one each going into this match, and Coffey manages to get a hard-fought victory. But Matt Cross, he has vastly improved since I last saw him at Tough Enough. I've never saw him in Combat Zone Wrestling. ICW's gave me the opportunity to see this guy, and he is really, really good, and a lot different to what he was back then. Kid Fight and Shah Samuels ended in an abrupt no contest when Shah Samuels got thrown in the back of a car by 2 thugs and Kid Fight, and then they drove off. Where that's going, I don't know. ICW Women's Title. Martina challenges Kaylee Ray. Now, Kaylee Ray won this match. Obviously, the feud with Viper still continues, and her and Martina double-teamed Kaylee Ray, and it's still there, guys. Like I say, Casey Owens challenges Martina to a match because she doesn't like the fact that she's been overlooked by people who've been in the company less than 5 seconds. She's worked 4 years at the company and she comes in 2 seconds, she's getting a title shot. So there's going to be beef between there. And apparently they've had heat before. So we'll wait and see on that one. Yep. Lionheart cost Joe Henry a match against Wee Man. It seems a feud's brewing between Lionheart and Joe Henry, and he tapped to his wrist as well, it means probably it's time. And in AK country, it's Chris Renfrew and Trent Severin against challenging for the number 1 contendership for the ICW World Title. We'll get a shot at Square Go, and Trent Severin won, so it's going to be the rematch. The funny thing about this one, guys, ICW, if you're listening to this, you might not want to put the Square Go preview. If you do, which is fine because you want people to know the Square Go's there. You want people to buy tickets to the show. And if I had my way, I'd be down there in a flash, trust me. You want people to go down there. You want people to check it out and yada, yada, yada. I get that. But, guys, you might not want to give the main event away. You had a main event of this show, Chris Renfrew versus Trent Severin. The winner gets an ICW title shot. And you basically had the main event for Square Go promoted on the little promo you did for Square Go to promote it. If you'd have done it without it, that'd have been fine. But you basically gave the game away for people who weren't aware that Trent Severin won the ICW title or won the match to get a shot at the ICW championship. I would imagine a lot of people already knew that, but come on. Don't give spoilers away, for crying out loud. I chuckled when I saw that. I actually chuckled when I saw that because I thought it was hilarious. All in all, guys, ICW, short, sweet, to the point, awesome as always. And bring on 2017 for ICW as well. And by the way, Square Go is February 5th. And for more information on ICW, go to insanewrestling.co.uk. I hope that's right. If it's not, I apologise, but I think it's that. So, enjoy ICW, and Merry Christmas to ICW as well as Mark Dallas and co. And I'll be back, ladies and gentlemen, in the final part, with some news regarding Braun Strowman and Chris Jericho, and 7 wrestlers that Shawn Michaels refused to lose to. See you in a bit.
Be sure to listen to the Sunday Segway Wrestling Podcast.
What?
Every Sunday with Kinny Killer and the Galdem Sugar Shubs.
Yes! Yes!
With all the news, views, and laughter that you want.
They like jet airplanes. Woo! They like long limousines.
Every Sunday, the Sunday Segway Wrestling Podcast on Podomatic, iTunes, and YouTube.
So why don't you choke on that, slap nut?
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the final part of the Wrestling Matters podcast. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. Hope you guys have enjoyed this Christmas episode, guess you could say, of the Wrestling Matters podcast. And yeah, you know the deal right now, guys. Swerve Talk Network, Daz, Craig Phoenix, and co. with Max Wrestling, Kinny Killer, Offshoot Radio, Sunday Segway TV, Sunday Segway, you know where to go and everything like that. You know where it's at. Be sure to check that all out each and every week. Shout out to my partners, Raging Falcon, OSW TV. Big shout out to Shasha Rodriguez and Rick Dara, Talk Brunch. Check them out each and every Monday after Raw in the US as well. So be sure to check that out as well. Follow them at Talk Brunch on Twitter. Also, Mystery Island as well, Russell Island as well, Russell Island on Twitter as well. Facebook.com/Back to the Island for more information. And I would imagine there'll be a Russell Island Facebook page there somewhere, but I don't know that. But I'll give it to you in future podcasts. Also, guys, AJW Wrestling Matters, Wrestling_Matters_podcast, SoundCloud and YouTube, respectively. You can check out this podcast as well. Also on Radio Big World, some guys I met through SoundCloud. And yeah, it's still a work in progress, but we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes down the pathway, if you will. Now, I wanted to get them out the way, guys, because I really wanted to get into this. Now, I've got 2 things I want to talk about before I end the podcast, but let's do it. The main event, 7 wrestlers Shawn Michaels refused to lose against. I'm pretty amazed that World Coach actually found 7, because I would pretty much imagine it would be more. But, yeah. 7 wrestlers that Mr. Michaels refused to lose against. Number 7 was Dean Douglas. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, who the hell is Dean Douglas? Well, Dean Douglas, formerly Shane Douglas, was in WWE after his long stint in ECW, and there was meant to be a match with him and Shawn Michaels for the championship and then In Your House pay-per-view. However, due to Marines beating up Shawn Michaels and then walking out with a black eye, he had to forfeit the belt, Shawn, and forfeited it to Dean Douglas. Real story was, he did not want to lose to Dean Douglas. Period. I don't know why this was the case, but it didn't work out well for Shane, Dean Douglas, because even though he got the championship belt, he had to defend it against Razor Ramon, and Razor Ramon ended up beating him for the championship. Yeah, not a good thing. 6 was the tag team division of the 90s. Now, apparently, this was all around because Shawn Michaels, who was Intercontinental Champion at the time, and Diesel, who was the WWE Champion at the time, had this one big, huge match with Owen Hart and Yokozuna, winner takes all. And they walked away with 4 belts. Intercontinental Championship, Tag Team titles, and the WWE title. These are the WWE, Shawn had the IC, and anyway, they were the World Tag Team Champions. But they held the belt for 87 days and then forfeited it due to falling out at Survivor Series. And I found out through this, I never knew this until I found out through the What Culture thing, they never even defended the titles. They defended the championships in that 87 days run as tag team champions against 0 teams. Oh boy. Something tells me Vince forced them to do that. But anyway. They split up, they went their separate ways, and they got new tag team champions along the way. Number 5 was Owen Hart. Now, Owen Hart was... This was probably revenge for what happened in Montreal. Owen Hart came back after the Montreal, and a DX In Your House pay-per-view jumped Shawn Michaels and started the attack, which hopefully would have led to a feud. However, Shawn didn't want to work with the guy, and more importantly, didn't want to put him over. So what would have possibly have been Shawn Michaels, Owen Hart going through DX at the time, which was Triple H and Shawn Michaels technically, going through Triple H and then going through Triple H to get to Shawn Michaels and hopefully getting that big payoff, didn't quite work out for Owen Hart because he ended up working with Triple H at WrestleMania and them having this big huge program going in and having this big feud for the European title, all because Shawn Michaels didn't want to work with him, because quite frankly Shawn Michaels was probably scared that Owen Hart would clock him for real because of what happened in Montreal. Anywho, number 4 was Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now, I know the full story about this. Shawn Michaels didn't want to drop the title. All this talk about Shawn Michaels didn't want to drop the title to Stone Cold at WrestleMania 14 and all of this, and he was a pain in the ass leading into it and everything. And Shawn Michaels refused to lose. He was a pain in the ass. So, although due to an interview that he did, he said he was going to do it anyway. He was just trying to be difficult, and it even got to the point where Taker was waiting for him after the match in case he didn't drop the title and was going to clock him and beat the hell out of him, waiting behind the scenes. That's what, I don't know if that was ever true. I've never heard Taker say that, to be honest with you. But all in all, Shawn did drop the title, and then we had the era of Austin, if you will. The era of the 316 as your WWE champion at the time, at least. And what kicked off, or what really took the Attitude Era to a whole new level. Number 3, Vader. Now, Vader was a stiff guy. Don't believe me. Ask Will Ospreay. He was very stiff, very hard hitting in his offense as well when you watch the matches and everything. Thankfully, I've never been on the receiving end of any Vader beatings, and quite frankly, I don't think I'd ever want to. Shawn didn't like this and refused to put the guy over. Even at one point during the 96 SummerSlam, we had a clusterfuck, or what turned out to be a clusterfuck of a WWE Championship match, which ultimately cost Vader his position in the company. Number 2, of course, was Bret Hart. This whole feud was not only on camera, it was also real. These two despised one another, even to the famous fight backstage in the toilet, which ended up interrupting Jerry Lawler's little moment on the toilet. As well, these two despised one another. But I believe this all kicked off and all started when Shawn won the championship at WrestleMania. Because then it kicked off at WrestleMania 12, because they were supposed to meet at WrestleMania 13. But Shawn dropped the title a month before, and that's how we ended up having Taker and Sid instead. Because Shawn refused to lose to Bret. Speaking of Bret Hart's family, Shawn Michaels, the number 1 pick was the British Bulldog. Now, on 2 occasions this has happened, because Shawn beat him for the Intercontinental Championship at one point, but this was going into one night only. Shawn faced Bulldog, with Bulldog's sister in the crowd, with Diana and yada yada yada, who was suffering. And I think the whole deal was for Shawn to lose. But Shawn, pulling his stroke backstage, manages to convince Vince to have him win. And it all led 2 months later to the Montreal, and Shawn walked out of England with the European title, and also a near riot too. If you don't believe me, go back and watch the pay-per-view, all on the WWE Network. You know what? I think I might do that myself, actually. Anyway, that is the end of that video. I'll leave a link in the description below for What Culture's things as well, and plus the video as well in the descriptions below, wherever you're watching this, or listening to this, or whatever. Also, guys, I have 2 news regarding Braun Strowman and Roman Reigns and Chris Jericho. I saw an article this past week that saw Roman Reigns is going to drop the championship, that US Championship belt. Many people believed that it was going to be Braun Strowman being the next United States champion, or being groomed. But it seems that WWE have finally come to their senses and going to put a championship on one Chris Jericho. Now, it's not going to be the Universal title, but it seems that WWE are going to have Chris Jericho complete the set, really, because he has done everything in WWE and done everything in wrestling. World champion, Intercontinental champion, tag team champion, you name it, he's done it, except for one thing. He has never been United States champion. And it seems WWE are going to go with that in the future, in the next couple of weeks, months or so. Chris Jericho will be United States champion. That leaves Roman Reigns, according to the article, to work a program with Braun Strowman heading into WrestleMania. So, we may very well see Braun Strowman one-on-one with Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. Now, I don't have a problem with that personally. Somebody big for Strowman to fight, that works. And who do you go after? The top dog, as he's known, the big dog. My theory on this, would this work? Would this get over? Would this be a match that people want to see? Would this match be watchable? Or would this match be the ultimate clusterfuck? I don't know. I guess we won't find that out until WrestleMania, should this go ahead. But I like the way they've done. I like what they've done with Braun Strowman. I like what they've done with him. Does he need to be a champion? No, not yet. Build him up, build him up, build him up. I think having him beat Roman Reigns at WrestleMania would work wonders in terms of getting the championship. But, yeah, we'll have to wait and see, I suppose. But that is the rumour. That is the rumour mill, if you will. Chris Jericho could be, and probably should be outright, the US champion. And it looks like it's going to end up being Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman at WrestleMania 33. All in all, guys, hope you guys have had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I'll be back February 2nd with another episode of the Wrestling Matters podcast. It'll be up by February 2nd anyway, so you'll be able to hear it. And I just want to wish you guys a nice, safe New Year. Enjoy yourselves. Get pissed. Get bladdered. Do what you do on the New Year's as well. And here's to another year of the Wrestling Matters podcast, guys. I tell you this right now, I've got a lot of changes that I'm going to be planning. I've got a lot of things I've got planned in my head for 2017 in terms of me. Yeah, it's a new day. It's a new era for me. And I will go to the ends of the earth to make sure, hopefully, knock on wood, that my 2017 year is a good one. Not just with my life as well, not just me getting to that next step in my life, because I'm in a happy place in the moment, happier than I've ever been before. 10 years on the job centre and everything like that. Now I'm in a better place than I was. Now it's time to step it up to a new level, not just in my life, but on the podcast as well. Till next time, my name is Anthony Walker. Happy New Year, and I'll see you on February 2nd. Wrestling Matters, wrestling fans. Peace out.
Well, enough is enough, and it's time for a change. Professional professional wrestling. This is it. This is us standing up.
Yes, 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 yes.
That's 13-14.
Dina, I am the best in the world.
Cause that's the bottom line. Cause Stone Cold Simpson.